It is November 21st, Survivor Series 2021, and 25th anniversary of The Rock and WWE. You might think tonight, with promotion for his movie on Netflix and the constant mentions and the plot of The Missing Egg gifted to Vince McMahon from The Rock's movie, that The Rock might show up tonight. Numerous credible sources had the run sheet saying, Big E and Roman's going to go first. And then at the last minute, no, it's going to go last. What surprise might they have in store to go off the air with? What's going to happen? And the answer was absolutely nothing. No surprise, no Rock. We worked ourselves into a fantasy booking scenario that disappointed everyone. I thought, watching the show, going to be a big night tonight. We could do a record number on the podcast. The Rock's going to be back in WWE. I bet WWE puts out a press release announcing WrestleMania. It's all finally happening. The rumors we've heard forever. And nope, Roman beat Big E. Trademark 2021 World Wrestling Entertainment. We went off the air.
See, I'm disappointed in you, Glenn, because we had an opportunity to string the audience along in this podcast the same way. For those who are watching this podcast, who are relying on us to tell them of the highs and lows of Survivor Series, we could have strung this out for the next hour and let our numbers grow and sustain. And you went it right ahead, and you took the high road. Didn't you learn anything from the great Vince McMahon, who's gifted $100 million egg that you got? Seriously. Come on, Glenn.
Well, here's the problem, Justin. If people tuned in and didn't watch the pay-per-view and we alluded to something like, oh my God, you have to see what happened, they would just stop watching the podcast, load up the Peacock, skip to the end, and be like, okay, I'm going to see what they're talking about.
Not necessarily, because Peacock is so bad that actually it's so bad that obviously you can only watch it live. You can't pick it up on demand at any point. And after a normal show is done, and normal being like 3 hours, and this was not 3 hours, after a normal show is done with them, it takes it a solid half hour at least for it to archive and become on demand. So the fact that this one was 4 and change, or actually 5 and change if you count the pre-show, you might not be able to get this thing until Thanksgiving. So it's okay. We have the ability to say whatever we want to say. They can't go back and disprove us right now.
Well, if we need a tease for this podcast, we don't know who has the egg. So maybe that was revealed tonight at Survivor Series. You're just going to have to tune in. There's $100 million egg on the loose.
There's so many things they could have done to make tonight more exciting. Raw. I don't know. And Raw. So if you don't count the pre-show with the DQ finish, Raw had a shutout except for Roman, which kind of goes to show in the WWE's mind, well, Roman getting this win, that it's a balanced scale. Roman wins, Raw wins everything else. Somehow, as Thanos would put it, the universe is in balance with each other. Perfect harmony.
Yeah, this is like an exhibition pay-per-view is really what it felt like. There's no stakes to really any of the big matches. And you could have done without this pay-per-view. But, listen, there is some newsworthy things that I think developed here that maybe will get people talking. But other than that, I don't know.
Yes. Mike D, is your name Michael Diamond? $2. Do you think WWE needs the Headbangers or Gangrel?
For what? With all due respect to those guys, that's pretty random.
Remember when the Headbangers came back to SmackDown like 5 years ago?
Yeah, and they looked the exact same as they did in their primes. Not like in terms of their wrestling, but in terms of their aesthetic, the way they looked, it looked like Headbangers circa 1998.
Remember how good SmackDown was 5 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Tag division, women's division, whole thing.
Gangrel is one of the top 5 best entrances ever.
Theme music, too. Great theme music.
Yeah, I know. I think like he said recently in an interview, like didn't he have a shot to like make a WWE? It was with the Edge stuff or whatever. Like, and then like him.
I thought it was AEW with Christian.
Maybe. It was AEW with Christian. Yeah.
I don't know.
I did the Edge entrance, and he was like,
yeah, him. If Dark Order didn't take the babyface turn, they did put a Gangrel with like a Dark Order or something.
Hey man, Insane Clown Posse was on Corey Graves' podcast after the bell last week. I think we're going to see them back in WWE sooner rather than later.
Oh, wow. Is this
breaking
news, Glenn?
Do you think, I don't know. Do you think publicly traded company WWE is going to touch ICP?
At this point, Justin, you've done business with the Juggalos. You've been to the Gathering.
I have.
They're family entertainment. It came out, the Dark Carnival, the big mythos, the Joker's card. What's the Dark Carnival all about? It's about God. They're really a Christian band. This isn't even a joke. Like, that was the big reveal at the end of the Wraith Shangri-La. So I think, why not? WWE has done business with worse people. Tony Starks, $4.99, just leaving Survivor Series. Good show, but we all really expected The Rock to show up.
I mean, especially if you've been seeing how Roman Reigns' big matches ended, the kind of overarching theme is here comes John Cena, here comes Brock Lesnar, and then we get these Rock teases. It's like, okay, and not that I was really expecting it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this might be where we hear the Rock's theme, and here we go. But that did, may or may not have happened. I'm not going to spoil it for everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, we'll talk about the entire show here. It is something to debate. Do the fans, including us, are we to blame, or do you blame WWE? Like, did we build it up in our own minds? But then you look at WWE; they made the whole night about showing flashbacks of The Rock. Vince McMahon. When was the last time Vince appeared in multiple backstage segments?
Yeah,
Vince is appearing with a prop, cross promoting Rock's new movie. Names The Rock. They're showing clips of its 25 years. Reigns does a rock bottom and gets a rock like, I mean, they're doing all these things where, yeah, I mean, it's, they're in the same city, different borough, but same city where he debuted. I mean, like, it is one of those things where looking back, and where we can retouch on when we get to the main event, looking back, I'm like, maybe they should have just completely ignored history. They know how to do that.
Yeah.
We know they know how to do. Maybe they should have just not acknowledged that this is the 25th anniversary, because if the lack thereof, if The Rock truly was not available, I'm sure he'd like to be there, but if you truly couldn't get there, then maybe you should just wipe your hands clean and just say, we'll let it be something that they celebrate on Twitter. We're not going to acknowledge it.
But when you see like the Santa Barbara Film Festival does a tribute to Brad Pitt, like, if Brad Pitt ain't showing up, they're not doing the tribute. Right. Like, what does this say about WWE that they would roll out these stops and The Rock's like, no, I'm good.
We're giving the Cecil B. DeMille Award to Martin Scorsese. Marty isn't here tonight.
Yeah,
here's a highlight package, everybody.
Yeah, here's the best of Goodfellas for you.
I will say this though, play devil's advocate. I think I guess the reason would be that The Rock and Roman Reigns maybe is a go for WrestleMania. I mean, I know both parties have said, oh, The Rock can't make it. Roman Reigns recently said he'd like to wrestle The Rock, but he doesn't know if he can. But maybe this is the start of a build toward The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38. So if that's the reason, then I would totally understand them doing this tonight.
It ain't the start of the build till The Rock shows up.
Well, and they are back in Brooklyn again tomorrow for Raw.
Yes.
And there is the cliffhanger of Vince said, if I don't get my egg back, then tomorrow on Raw. Yes, that's a statement I said, if I don't get my egg back. So I mean, it's quite possible that this does bleed into Monday. And obviously, if you were to ask WWE, what would you rather? Would you rather, if you only get one or the other, would you rather The Rock show up at a pay-per-view where you're already getting your flat rate money from the Peacock Network, or would you rather him show up where he could give a bump to a rating that you desperately need? I think they would probably take the Monday Night Raws.
But they're not going to get the bump.
They'll get buzz. It'll make USA happy. USA gets to have The Rock on the last time The Rock was on program was on Fox on SmackDown. They showed that clip tonight. So there's all those things come into play.
This is something that you would kind of want to promote. I mean, Vince McMahon's going to be on the show, so this is kind of the classic panic move when their numbers aren't doing as well. Maybe something gets leaked. Maybe a WrestleVotes comes out and has a cryptic message about The Rock that gets people talking about him being on the show. But at the very least, they should, if he's going to be on the show, kind of leak that a little bit. You don't have to formally announce The Rock is going to be there, but it could be like what AEW did with CM Punk, where they told you without telling you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where they work, the dirt sheet stooges, leaking the ratings numbers, letting you know upcoming booking, letting you know all of it. That's who Vince was texting tonight. He was like, hey, you want some Rampage Fast Nationals?
Did you get that text too?
Don't we all?
Did anybody else find it weird too that, again, this is stuff we haven't seen from Vince in many years, that we tonight we see Vince show up, he comes out of a limo with a thing that we're then told that
nobody knows what the F it is.
Well, he gets out of a limo with a thing that he then later would tout that was worth $100 million, making what's left of his roster that he didn't cut a few days ago cheer for him and this $100 million prize possession. I mean, is this just a flex of billionaire balls or what? Anybody? I mean,
he's got balls the size of a golden egg.
Yes.
He's wondering who would steal such a thing when job security is nowhere around.
Kevin, I hate that Kevin Kakinen posted this because this could be true. $5. Sonya stole the egg and will plant it on Naomi.
Probably. I could see that happening. Call the police. She did it. I'm telling you.
When Sonya was in the office and he was asking who, like, I seriously, that's where my mind went. That was the first thing I thought.
The best tweet I saw, I'll give him a shout out. Sean Rossap from Fightful. Sean had a tweet that said, "Triple H stole the egg to go pawn it off to start a new wrestling company, to finance a new wrestling company."
I'd like to see that.
All I thought of when he was holding it up was the speech in Pulp Fiction about the watch, about hiding the watch, you know, in his rectum for 5 years. Bad Keith Gaming, $5. This pay-per-view was like a sandwich cookie. The cookie was good, but the filling was terrible. Wow.
I felt like there was a lot of filling or filler on this pay-per-view. This is like a sandwich cookie with only filling.
Becky versus Charlotte felt like it happened Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, you know, I mean, Justin, you're about to turn another year older here in 2 minutes, live on the air. I felt like I was in my 30s when this pay-per-view started.
Wow. Did you bring a birthday cake for Justin, Glenn?
I didn't know until I got on the air. And all I got here is a lemon perfect can of seltzer water and a can of Crystal Geyser.
And I didn't tell anybody else because I thought we'd be off the air by now.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And all I kept thinking tonight was like, I skipped watching Succession for this. Like,
yeah.
Clyde B. If the egg is real in the WWE universe, that would mean that Red Notice and WWE happen in the same universe. Hence, The Rock is on the run with Gal Gadot. I know this movie did gangbusters on Netflix. I've heard nobody talk about this movie. It's very weird that they made such a deep reference to the film. I mean, Army of the Dead Zombies, everybody understands what zombies are.
I mean, but
like
well, I
you know.
wonder too, when we've seen Vince and WWE Studios be executive producers behind, I wonder, did they have anything to do with this movie with The Rock, or like are they deeper into this movie than other Rock productions, other Rock movies?
They're clearly, especially because this pay-per-view was brought to you by Red Notice. So that tells you right there that they're, you know, in bed with this movie, and The Rock is the obvious tie-in. So that's pretty much the reason they're doing this. I guess they're not trying to be cool and like jump on the new movie that's out. They're doing this because there's a partnership there. And this is, I guess, the storyline of that movie is the egg, you know, they're trying to get this valuable egg.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's very weird. So very weird. We have some news stories. Is there anything really worth covering? Anything big, anything huge? Because I feel like our disappointment of The Rock tonight is really going to just overshadow everything.
I mean, we can go quickly the news stories. SmackDown did about what it did last week with its overnight rating, so it's probably going to have the same number. And then we've got Jake Hager possibly grappling against Jon Bones Jones. Bones Jones announced it. He mistakenly said that Jake Hager was Jack Swagger of WWE, and so that caused its own uproar. And then Jake Hager came out and said, no, nothing's been signed. So do you guys think that this could lead to Jon Bones Jones and UFC possibly, in terms of they've now opened these doors of communication?
In UFC?
I mean, I'm sorry, in
Or
AEW. Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, hey, Tony Khan loves this forbidden door, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of former UFC champions come through there, namely with Dan Lambert and America's Top Team. So, I mean, that could be something fun for AEW if they're able to get him there. But clearly, he's kind of out of the loop when it comes to the greater world of wrestling, and I don't think he's very much aware of AEW. But maybe that could be a condition. If this contract hasn't been signed, if I'm Tony Khan, I say, hey, Jake, you don't sign that contract until you get a guaranteed appearance from Jon Bones Jones in AEW.
Yeah, but doesn't Alfred? You might follow it closer than I haven't. I've stepped out of MMA compared to what I was 5-10 years ago. Jon Jones got a little bit of controversy. I mean, Tony Khan's been pretty consistent trying to stay away from guys or girls who have any kind of trouble. The way that, if I'm remembering, what Jon Jones has had some issues out of the cage, right?
Yeah. Jon Jones is constantly being plagued by controversy, but he always seems to land on his feet. And if that's something that he's concerned with in terms of Tony Khan, you know, it might be troublesome to have Jon Bones Jones there. But on the other hand, you know, and this, I'm not, you know, promoting this in terms of this being a good thing, but he seems to be like Teflon when it comes to these things, to where people do understand that he gets into these problems, but it never seems to stick to him. But yeah, it's not something that if you're Tony Khan and you want to not associate with people who are controversial, you know, Jon Jones is definitely controversial.
You know what's weird and unique about Tony Khan is, in my lifetime, I've known like 4 people professionally who had some variation in the last name Khan, and all their businesses were Con Artist Entertainment, Con Man Management, and Tony Khan just has not gone for that low-hanging fruit, and in many ways I respect him for that.
Well, maybe we'll give it some time, but maybe it's an ironic thing where he's a really honest guy who just has the name Khan.
It's weird too, because you think, why would I name my business that? Like, it's very odd marketing. Anything else? Anything else in the news?
Nothing else in the news. Those were your two news stories from the weekend.
Well, tonight I felt like I found out Santa Claus wasn't real because Rick Boogs was out there during that Shinsuke Nakamura match, and Rick got attacked by Damian Priest. Rick was playing a guitar lick. I noticed when Damian Priest took the guitar off him to smash it over him, there was no wire coming out of the guitar, no wireless receiver, meaning I think Rick Boogs is just miming along to a pre-recorded track, or at least he was tonight before that attack. And it's just, I feel let down, to be honest. Wow. This is like Milli Vanilli all over again.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
It's like when we found out who the real Double J was.
True.
Back to 96.
Shout out to Jesse James.
Jackson Callens was saying, oh, maybe they built the wireless rig into the guitar. And it's like, it was known that with Elias's guitars, like those, if it was getting smashed, that was like a $200 acoustic guitar. You were not building like a covert wireless transmitter into a guitar if you're just going to destroy it. It just really bothered me. But so Damian Priest was disqualified, and Shinsuke got one of 2 wins tonight for SmackDown on the pre-show.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. WWE did not keep a tally of the wins. So they've really given up on this thing. So it's just like, go out there and wrestle your matches. But yeah, that was a very interesting DQ finish.
Didn't keep a tally, but I like this touch. Other than the crazy battle royal, I'm glad they did not make both the men and women's teams of the 505s wear the stupid shirts. I'm glad they let the competitors at least just wear red ring gear and blue ring gear. Like, that was a nice semblance of team. But I hate the battle royal which doesn't matter at all for Raw or SmackDown, and they're having them wear Fox and USA shirts out there. It looks ridiculous.
I have to say, though, of all the teams tonight, that entrance with the women's team from SmackDown looked so badass with all of them coming to the ring together.
Yeah, I don't know if it was to look badass or if it was to cut down a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I don't know. It looked really good.
Kind of, stretched out.
But I mean, that's the thing too. Like, how did tonight take so long? Did any of these matches, aside from the opening match and the ending match, did any of these matches need to be as long as they were tonight?
No.
Yeah, I just felt like they were taking what should have probably been a 2-hour pay-per-view and stretching it into a 3.5-hour pay-per-view because there were not a lot of matches. And I think my biggest criticism of this pay-per-view is that they continue to, whether it was commercials, the Rock memories, a match that was stretched out to be like 20 minutes long. It's like they insisted that this pay-per-view was going to go over 3 hours. And when you looked at the card, it's like, oh, this should be over with soon, But every match seemed like it just dragged on. Maybe not every match, but every match did take, at least seemed like 15 to 20 minutes.
Well, and one of the problems too with Peacock is that you're right. They have a lot of. If you notice, there was a lot of stuff in between each matches, and the reason for that is because I'm a victim of this. I have Comcast, Xfinity's cable. I still have cable, so I get Peacock automatically, but I have to pay. But I get Peacock, but I have to see the ads. So they've been blocking more time where they're showing filler. WWE showing filler WWE in-house promos for Shop or whatever, and you're seeing that if you're on certain platforms or if you're on or if you've paid the premium. If you're a schmuck like me that's not paying any more, I have to see Peacock network ads for their other programming, and they drop them in during this time. So they've been trying to build basically 10-minute commercial spots in between, so that way nobody misses any of the in-ring action or important promos. So it makes it's like it's like a UFC pay-per-view. They have this large gap of time in between these fights. It's ridiculous.
Hey, new season of Saved by the Bell drops this week. Stellar Justin Lopez $4.99, exclusively reporting it here on Wrestling Inc. first. He low-key switched to a work guitar, Glenn, that they kept over by the timekeeper. I noticed that when I was at the arena. So there you go. So he was only miming for the last couple of riffs before he got beat with the guitar.
Wow. Great reporting there by Stellar Justin Lopez, friend of the show. Absolutely.
Be sure to credit Stellar Justin Lopez in your coverage with a hat tip to Wrestling Inc.
Yeah.
The Wrestling Inc. podcast. Yeah, that was weird tonight. And then when they went off the air, there was a commercial break. So the show goes off the air, and I pay for every streaming service because I'm an idiot. So there's this long vignette for Charlotte Flair. It was very weird. They had one for Bobby Lashley early in the evening. They went for Drew McIntyre, and I thought it was part of the programming. I'm like, what are they building up to here? But no, they just use this literally to fill time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of great. Better than on Fox when I watch on the Fox app SmackDown and it's that damn Fox Sports music on a loop over and over again with "Please Stand By" when they don't have an ad.
Oh yeah, I see that too. Yeah, after
Yeah.
SmackDown, just over and over.
Yes.
That should be our theme music.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the main card. Now, up until about half an hour before the show, multiple credible news stories said Becky versus Charlotte was going to close the show. So much so, I go, what's the first thing I do when I hear that? I go over to Instagram, and Ronda Rousey, who has worked the wrestling fans before, is posting a photo with her child, talking about, I can't believe it's been 8 weeks. Thanks for the training and the photos. I'm thinking, if that's going last, is Ronda going to show up, start some shit? She's not going to wrestle. Obviously, that's too soon. We're going to tease something there. But 20 or 30 minutes before we went on the air, I was like, there was last minute change in the order. Becky and Charlotte are opening the show. It was like, shit. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That was the best built feud. Well, one, I think it was the best match tonight. Two, best built feud, most built story tonight. To you first, Justin, what'd you think of that opening the show, and what'd you think of the match going on first?
The match was fantastic. It was probably my favorite thing that we got tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of blurred lines. What's work, what's shoot, going into this. So I thought that these ladies, again, for whatever's real, whatever's not, they took advantage of it. And so the start of the match and a lot of parts of the match were sloppy and quick and hard hitting in a shoot style, as if they are kind of grappling for who's going to keep the power control. I'm going to get my shot on you, and I'm trying to protect myself. Alfred and I, we've talked about, I think we both agree here. These ladies are obligated in this match. They have to work snug. Again, you got to the point now, rightly or wrongly, on purpose or not, people are believing there's a real sense of realism and real problems here. So you have no choice but to go out there and work a little more aggressive than maybe you would otherwise, because that's what the fans are expecting. As terms of it being the opener, the way the finish was, seeing that finish, I'm okay with that finish, but that would not be a finish I'd want for the end of the show.
Right.
So how do you think it compared to the actual end of the show?
Well, at least the end of the show, though, was a clean, definitive one, and it's a tribal chief standing tall. Sure, we would have loved Brock or Cena or Rock, but I think ending the way they did for the Becky Charlotte, which fit for those two ladies, that would have been an even bigger troll job to end the night on that, I think.
Alfred?
Yeah, I thought this was a very good match, and you talked about the build, Glenn, and I think, it's part WWE, part real life, because had this real life story not crept in, I feel like this would have suffered, because people have seen Becky versus Charlotte so many times that this is now a match that came with some real life tension or backstage heat that I think did a good job of capitalizing on toward the end. Like the video package that they had for these women, I thought they did a good job of embodying the fact that, hey, these two might not really like each other. I like the brawls they had. They were cursing at each other pretty audibly through that match, and it was a weird finish. I was very surprised by the back and forth in terms of roll-ups. That's not the type of finish I would guess they would have had, considering these two women hate each other so much. But I am just glad they didn't go to Montreal screwjob type situation. So at least we got the kind of roll-up. Charlotte pretty much laughed it off as she walked out, but I thought they did a good job in terms of what this match dynamic was. They did a good job of embodying that, and this was a good match. I really liked it.
That was great. How real do you think, Alfred, you first, how real do you think the heat is between these
I think it's not as real as it was when it first happened. I think they did have a backstage confrontation, and when it got in WWE's hands, now they're playing it up like, oh, these two hate each other. And even when they're doing their interviews, I do think that Becky Lynch is, speaking some truth when she's talking to Ariel Helwani in terms of them not being as good of friends. But I do think that maybe it's more cordial at this point, and they're just not friends anymore. But I do not think that there's this terrible bad blood that they hate each other as much as I think people would be led to believe.
Yeah,
Justin?
I would agree with that. Just to expand, I think they might not be, spending their days off with each other anymore and double dating with their significant others. But I think, to what Alfred's saying, I think the story, it got out there that there was, so once it gets out there, it's like, okay. And both of these ladies did break in at the same time. They both have wanted to make it. They both have been on the poorer side of the pay scale. So I think they both can kind of at least sit in the corner privately or send a text to each other over the last couple of weeks and say, look, we got in this business to be the best and to make money. We have a chance to make some money with each other, you say what you got to say. I'll say what I got to say. Let's do what we got to do in the ring. It's a cordial. You're being that's the definition of being a professional wrestler. You're gonna go out there. You're not gonna kill the other person. You're gonna take care of them, knowing you're gonna have to both knowing you're gonna have to work snug. Like I said earlier, you need to make this look a little more intense. But both of them knowing I need to take care of the other one because there's money to be made here. Because we're gonna do a wonky finish. Nobody's gonna get buried here. Nobody's going to get definitively elevated, so we have a chance to go to the pay window, Daddy, as Dusty would say several more times.
It was good. It was very good match, very intense. It feels like there's a lot that's real there. But yeah, I think they told a really good story. I liked with the way that Becky won, where it wasn't 100% clean, where she outplayed Charlotte basically by grabbing the rope on the count of 3. So it was good. It's a very, very good match to open the show. Hey, Justin, do you have the ad copy? I think we have an ad tonight.
We do?
I think we do. I see on the calendar Manscaped.
Oh, yes, I do.
Well, I have to hear my Manscaped ad.
Yeah, how's that for a segue? Other podcasts have clever segues. If you want to work snug in areas where it counts.
So if you want to work snug, if you want to have somebody that looks like Becky Lynch rolling you up, you have to go with the below the waist grooming, the head of below the waist grooming. That's right. When you're sitting around the dinner table this Thursday, Thanksgiving, we're saying we're thankful for. I am not thankful for The Rock not showing up. I am not thankful for an egg being stolen, but I am thankful for Manscaped. That's right. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leaders in below the waist grooming, have the new Performance Package 4.0. That's right, the new Performance Package 4.0, and we are hooking you up. That's right, 20% off and free shipping, all because you listen and watch this podcast using the code WINC20. They've been longtime supporters, Manscaped has, and we got us a great new stuff to tell you about. Before I get to the very brand new product, let's just review. We got the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and the wonderful travel shaving kit bag to take all your goodies. If you're going to go visit the in-laws for Thanksgiving, you can make sure you're keeping all your grooming products all in hand for you in your travels. Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce the grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. Also gives you that 4000K LED light, so that way, if you're doing any fancy, funky angles to make sure you're getting everything in complete job, you won't be able to miss anything in the dark, and it's waterproof. So that plays in a nice situation there. Performance 4.0 package also includes the Weed Whacker. You can chop up those worst weeds. Trust me, fellas, it is not attractive, especially if you're going on like some first dates and you got hair growing out of the nose, out the ear. Not gonna, you're setting yourself up behind the 8 ball. Not good. Not good there. The new skin safe technology helping prevent nicks, snags, and tugs and those delicate spots. And of course, there's the liquid formulations. It's the pumpkin pie of the Manscaped Thanksgiving Performance Package 4.0 package that you're getting here. And that's got all liquid formulations, including the Crop Preserver ball deodorant and the Crop Reviver toner spray. And the new product just launched. I know they just sent it out to all of us. Very excited to have this now in the repertoire every day. Is the Refined Body Wash 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner that features that signature Manscaped scent that'll help unlock the confidence you need in this Thanksgiving and Christmas time year. Again, all of these can be yours. You can get 20% off and you can get free shipping using the code WINC20 at manscaped.com. Or, ladies, maybe this could be a great gift. If you need to send a little hint, wink, wink to your significant other, to your male partner, this could be a great gift that you could help stock some stuffings so he's better stocking his stuffing. You know what I'm trying to get at there.
No, somebody's getting stuffed.
Save 20%. Free shipping. Manscaped.com. Use the code WINC20. You're thankful for Manscaped. We're thankful for Manscaped. All three of us are part of the 4 million men worldwide that are loyal Manscaped users. And we thank them for the support of this podcast.
Justin likes to represent on game day his favorite sports team with what he shaves. So he just shaves it right in. Me, remember how Vanilla Ice had lines in his eyebrow in the early 90s? I'm bringing that back. But
you're going to use Manscaped for that.
But below the belt.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Representing the VIP posse, which is redundant. The Vanilla Ice posse. Manscaped, good stuff. And 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. We don't talk about that enough because I don't have time to shampoo and condition separately. I want it together. One shot.
They do make
I'm a
stuff
busy
like
guy.
that, like 2-in-1, 3-in-1 body wash.
Well,
and
Manscaped
whatnot.
with that as the signature scent,
Yeah.
and you know, if you know, if another's like, "Ooh, what's that smell?" You know, just be like, "Oh, I'll never tell." They don't know it's ball deodorant, but you just dab a little behind your ear or anywhere else you want to freshen up. Manscaped.com, WINC20. And we thank them for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. podcast. And we get letters from Manscaped. They're like, "Oh my God, your crowd, the Wrestling Inc. audience, they devour our products. They really need some grooming. They really need to get it together all over." Manscaped, help making it happen. They know what's up. So back to the show tonight, which, by the way, that Manscaped ad, more entertaining than 90% of what we saw in Survivor Series tonight. I wish we would have saw more about men's personal grooming on Survivor Series compared to the promotion we saw tonight, the storylines, the egg. Oh, what's going on with the egg? The best part of the egg, let's just get it out of the way now, was when Roman was backstage. He said 100 million. It's close to what my next contract's going to be worth.
You wish. I don't know if I'm sure he's going to get re-signed. I don't know if it's going to be $100 million.
Sure he's going to get re-signed.
Cop cutting mode. I don't know if
Bold take. I'm sure Roman's going to get re-signed.
That's why all these people are being released. Is because they need to get that $100 million together for Roman Reigns.
Yeah, another bold take as we're citing budget cuts for all the releases. We have to clear away for the $100 million re-sign. Yeah, I don't know. If you want your egg to be worth $100 million, use Manscaped to properly groom your egg. Eggs, plural.
Hey, you never know. Some people were born with one egg, and that's okay too.
Yeah, so you can win bike races doing that. We've seen
some people born with 3 eggs, apparently, according to urban legend. So you never know. Stellar Justin Lopez, $4.99. I've been going to WWF and E shows for almost 30 years here in New York. This is by far the tamest, most relaxed crowd I've ever been a part of. And by the way, like, this is a live show in New York. New York has not been there's not been a lot to do of this magnitude for 20 months. And you get New York wrestling fans at Barclays, Survivor Series, and this is how hyped they were.
Yeah. And the WWE punted on this pay-per-view. Like, what were they supposed to be super excited about? There was really no build until the final week of the pay-per-view, maybe. The one hot storyline they had, or maybe you could argue was a hottest storyline with Becky and Charlotte, it was only hot because of something that happened in real life that was not supposed to happen. So the whole show is booked as Raw versus SmackDown. We're going to put this champion against that champion with no rhyme or reason, just because they're on different brands with similar titles. And when you have a show like that, it's like an exhibition. There's not much to really get excited about, even if you are in New York.
The most raucous thing I saw, I know there was, I know they did get a little unruly during the women's 5-on-5, but one other thing I saw was normally WWE's pretty good about policing who walks in the aisleway of the crowd that faces the hard camera. They're very big about what signs, what behavior. And there was a person, I'm trying to remember which match it was. There was, it was the RK Bro match. There was a person that got a solid over at least 60 seconds, maybe more, roamed back and forth with a sign of "We miss you, Triple H," and then eventually WWE tracked him down and pulled him aside. But that's the raucous Brooklyn crowd for you tonight. Is they miss Triple H?
It was really weird tonight, and this kind of shows you, by the way, with all the releases and the cuts and the changes. It's really, they wore tonight and told you loud and clear, bold font, underlined who they care about. In that we had Seth Rollins, the sole survivor, winning the men's match for Raw. Bianca Belair, the sole survivor, winning for Raw. It's like everyone else there tonight on these Survivor Series teams was just, almost winning the Battle Royal. A lot of people felt like extras tonight on the pay-per-view. Not a lot of people look strong. Not a lot of people look dominant. Not a lot of people looked like, you could really get behind them and invest in them. It just kind of looked like, okay, this is our roster. Here's who we think are stars or who are the biggest superstars. Everyone else is just kind of here,
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened. You can tell in terms of week-to-week television that they're pushing certain people at a certain level to get them over with fans, and they're telling their stories, and they're giving them all the production and making them look like stars. And then with maybe 90% of the roster, it's not the case. And a lot of the mid-card storylines are nonsensical, and they're not these epic, type of stories they're telling, like with Roman Reigns. And then to your point, Glenn, you see that all play out on the same card. It becomes very obvious, like, oh, there's really only a few people who they really want me to care about. And a lot of these other people are just kind of also rans, unfortunately, despite their talents.
And then 2 big walkout moments tonight. One with Kevin Owens during the men's, one with Sasha Banks during the women's. So it kind of tells you like who got to really shine tonight, and everyone else was just sort of there. So I don't know about you guys. I thought Kevin Owens walking out of the men's match, that was almost dominant, especially with speculation, the dominant storyline, especially with it's almost like they're working the audience because of the expectation that his contract is up soon.
Alfred, I'll let you take that one.
I mean, well, no, they could be. I mean,
you had a Dynamite tweet for it, so you had a great tweet about it.
Oh, the walking. Yeah, no, I do think that he was doing his practicing for walking out on his contract when it's up in a couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. He's just going to get up like, all right, I'll see you guys later. I'm done with this. But yeah, we could, maybe they are kind of playing into that. He has said some comments in promos where I believe he made a Mount Rushmore reference or whatnot. So maybe they're playing into those dirt sheet rumors or whatnot. But Kevin Owens just turned heel. So I think the reason he did that is because they're really trying to give you a reason to really hate him now that he's a heel. And so he gets to do all this heel stuff. I really don't know if it's anything more than that, but maybe it is.
It got him walking out, got great heat reaction from the live crowd. But then it was crazy in this match. He walks out, so he gets counted out. And then what is it, Lashley and Drew? Was it Lashley and Drew or
yes?
Yeah.
Both get counted out. So if you're keeping score, 3 of the 10 people in the match got counted out. I've never ever seen that's 3 more that have got counted out than AEW's ever had. I've never seen 3
so
countouts
weird.
in a match.
And then it came down to a one-on-one with Rollins and Hardy, which was pretty cool.
And Jeff Hardy, I mean, it does not matter. They could stomp horse manure on him every week. He is so over with people at 40-something years old.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there again. Another guy who working out what's left of his contract, which has had time added onto it because of injury. If I had to make my bets, he probably gets a swan song run in AEW with his brother. He's just so and literally, Alfred and I talk about AEW every Wednesday, and it has, for everything from the music that they license to use and whatever, it has a rock show kind of feel with the audience participation, whatever. Just imagining Jeff Hardy with the fandom that he has in that rock show environment is more exciting than most released WWE guys.
Oh yeah,
being pictured there.
Yeah, I posed this on Twitter. I don't think there's anybody more over than him. You can put Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch in the conversation in terms of the stars that they're pushing that people react to. But I mean, Rockstar reaction is absolutely what that was with Jeff Hardy, with people chanting for Hardy, actively into him. And the way they book him is, I think, sad in terms of, you're saying swan song in AEW. Why not have a swan song in WWE? Why not just take this popularity that this guy clearly has, start letting him win some matches and build up to a match between him and Roman Reigns, because people would be into him chasing for that title. Nobody's saying he has to win that match, but you look at the people and the popularity of these stars, nothing, I don't think, compares to Jeff Hardy right now.
Wow. It's hard to argue that, and I would be all for that. I mean, they're just not. They're not going to do that with Jeff Hardy, I don't think. But I would even be as entertained to see, throw him on Tuesdays. Let him be part of this new.
Yeah.
Let him be a veteran name with these young bucks of NXT, and he's so over. Jeff Hardy is so over because he's one of the last few active that still can represent. He wasn't so much attitude era. He's more. The Hardys kind of went more into the tail end of the ruthless aggression era, the early 2000s. But he has that credibility of the wrestling boom period of 20 years ago, and he still gets that. People, you can go up to somebody who doesn't watch wrestling, you can say the name Jeff Hardy, and they remember.
Oh yeah.
So throw him on Tuesdays. If you're not going to do anything else with them, just throw him on Tuesdays and see. Can that get you another 100,000 people that watches? I don't know. Just try. Why not? What bad would that do? If you're going to pay the guy, put him on. Yeah.
I think they think of him like a utility player, like Sheamus, that they can just put in this mid-card stuff, and he's just there to fill a spot. I don't think they recognize what they really have with him at a time when a connection with the audience is at an all-time premium and scarcity in WWE.
But that's crazy. If anybody should recognize what they have in him or why people are reacting to him, it should be WWE, because they spent the past decade pushing these part-time stars or people from the past over the current roster. So you get a guy like Jeff Hardy. And the same thing was apparent with John Morrison when he was here. People loved John Morrison. He was one of those guys who's way more over than his push because he's from the past and he's a familiar name they recognize. So those are the people that they cling on to. So I don't know why WWE doesn't just capitalize on this popularity that he has right now, and you could use it to get a current star over. I mean, Roman Reigns is already over, but you can give him another big win.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but hey, if it's just about pleasing the fans, Tony D'Angelo would be NXT champ.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, all the time. 365 days.
Wrestling Inc. superfan Tanner Majors on Twitter thinks Tony D'Angelo stole the egg, and I think Tony has a perfectly good alibi.
Oh man. Listen, Vince McMahon, if Tony D'Angelo stole that egg, move on. Cut your losses. Cut your $100 million. You don't want to go after Tony D'Angelo and the Mafia to get that egg.
Justin, you on the Tony D'Angelo hype train?
Not as much as you guys are on Tuesdays.
He is now. You're going to be on the train by the time we end this podcast, Justin.
Like, what is better in NXT than Tony D'Angelo?
I'm always a little, anything that gets Issa Ladywood, I'm always a little weary. I got to tread lightly. That's my honest barometer, quite frankly.
Alfred, you missed it Friday. Issa had me playing F, Marry, Kill with members of the AEW men's roster. So that was
oh really? So who got the F? Who got the F?
Go watch Friday night's podcast.
Oh, I can't wait. I got to check that out. That's what I'm going to be doing. Instead of Thanksgiving dinner, I'll be watching that podcast.
Oh my God. Like
while manscaping.
We had a 25-man dual battle royal to commemorate the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut. This was so dumb. Like, if they'd all come out dressed like The Rock in different eras, like that photo shoot or something. But this was just like, I'm sorry, this was just pathetic. It made no sense. Like, well, we're commemorating the debut. We're having 25 men for 25 years. Are they dressed like The Rock? Nope. Just 25 men for. Is there a trophy that looks like The Rock? Nope. Just 25 men for 25 years.
I wish they would have had big, framed photos of The Rock, on easels surrounding the ring. And the only connection that I can find that makes sense is so Omos wins it, and so it's like, okay, here's a guy, different background than The Rock, than Dwayne Johnson, 1996, and everything. And but here's a guy who, like the famous Jim Ross quote, that's that blue chipper, that's gonna be the man right here. Almost definitely has that feel of they
sure.
Right now it feels like they look at him as being a major player that they're protecting. So that's the only thing I can draw. Was like, okay, similar to The Rock making a debut that was worth note, and they even noted this guy's gonna be a big deal. We have the big deal in Omos, but that was me making my stretch to try to.
Our next 25 minutes of this podcast are a tribute to 25 years of The Rock.
Oh, there you go. 25 moments in 25 minutes.
And they showed that video package really skipped over a lot of stuff in that package. They made it seem like the blue chipper era was just gangbusters.
Yeah. They get to retell their own history. That's what they do.
Vince does not remember Die Rocky Die.
That'd be funny if they showed the sign and he cropped it out and said, "Live, Rocky, live."
What? And they talked.
Fight, Rocky, fight.
When they were all the people chanting Rocky, Rocky, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that's not the famous chant everyone remembers.
I remember.
Vince does remember that Rock had $7 in his pocket.
Yeah, and that was weird hearing him tell the story where it was to Roman Reigns of all people,
right?
To Rock's credit, I will say this: that first night in Survivor Series, he was over that night with that crowd on that particular night. They did not boo him immediately. It was just over time when it became apparent they were going to be shoving this guy down their throats. That's when they started to kind of turn on him. But there were legit Rocky chants on that night.
Yeah.
I will say about this almost thing, okay, it was what it was. It wasn't the greatest match or whatnot, but this is the essence of what the Battle Royal is in wrestling in terms of this is how they promoted Andre the Giant for years and years, is they have people go in there and look at this big giant, beat up all these other guys. It was very simplified, and I think this is perfect for Omos.
It was good for Omos to get that win. I agree.
I'm waiting to see what happens in January at the Rumble. Is that the start of the split between he and AJ? Is it the start of the split between Riddle and Orton? Because this is the last pay-per-view of 2021. The next one is January 1st, and then after that, 29 days later is Royal Rumble, and at that point we're in WrestleMania season. So whoever's the next wave of are we focusing on Omos? Are we focusing on Riddle? Is Big E remaining a top guy? That's when we're going to start to see. Is Damian Priest truly another guy that they're looking to build? So
Good question. Here's a prediction for the Royal Rumble. I predict that Omos sets the new Royal Rumble elimination record.
Really?
Who has it now? Is it Kane?
Well, all time it's Braun Strowman. If you count the greatest Royal Rumble, that's who
No.
WWE credits for. We're not counting that. I think
Well,
I don't think it's Kane anymore. It's Roman Reigns now.
Well, you can't count the Braun one. There's 50 people in that Rumble, right?
Yes, there was 50.
So he had more. No, we have to go by the traditional 30.
But they've had 40-man Royal Rumbles before.
But Kane still holds the record in that one.
Yeah, so it's not Kane. It's Roman Reigns has the record. I believe that's still the record. I think it was 2014. Roman Reigns set the record, broke the record.
I don't know.
I mean, this is good for almost. Otis got. Oh, good Lord, the Otis moment. So so first off, Street Profits, whatever you're paying them is not enough. Like them with the Pizza Hut sponsorship in there, doing the whole bit, then R-Truth grabbing the slice of pizza and like luring Otis away with a slice of pizza. Like,
How did the pizza tie into this battle royal? Is it like a sponsor?
Because Pizza Hut was sponsoring the match, or sponsoring Street Profits at least. And then after the match, Street Profits are like, I mean, they just worked a match, so I have to assume their hands are sweaty and they're ripping pizza slices and they're throwing it out in the crowd. I don't know if I want to eat pizza. As you might fanboy and mark out that Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins just tossed you a slice of pepperoni, but I mean, I don't know if I want to be necessarily eating that, putting that in my mouth.
I don't want to be pelted with pizza when I'm in the audience. Like, concessions have figured out you can throw a rolled up hot dog. There are some things you could transport. The idea of just tossing like a frisbee slices of pizza in the stands has never caught on. But maybe after tonight,
tasted like cocoa butter.
And every local New York pizza shop in the area is like, you're throwing pizza, you're throwing the corporate man out to the fans. You send them around the corner to Tony's to get a slice of Tony's authentic pizza. It's just a slap. More trolling of the New York audience tonight. Let's go ahead and roll out corporate America pizza in the heart of Brooklyn.
It's just, I feel bad for Otis. I'd kind of forgotten Otis was still signed. And I feel like with Chad Gable, they've moved him away from this gimmick. But this was like the ham sandwich and the Money in the Bank briefcase all over again.
More than I think any character in recent memory, whenever I see this Otis, like I think of the other Otis as another person. Like, man, I miss that other guy. Like, I feel like he left us, and I just think of like, I remember this guy used to be this, because he's such a departure for what he was. And I think that charismatic, Dusty Rhodes kind of gyrating Otis was just such a fun act that it's like he's gone.
No, I think Mandy should have been there to catch him when he fell out of the ring.
This
could have just brought it all back.
This Otis is like John Belushi trying to do drama in the 80s before he died, or in the 70s before he died.
You weren't a fan of Continental Divide?
No, I was not. That's why I'm glad I knew you would pick up on which movie I was referencing. This is like Belushi trying to go serious.
I think that was the only one, right? I mean, he passed way too young. May he rest in peace. But I think Continental Divide was his only like non.
Well, that was the one that was right after like Animal House, right? He was trying to use that fame to like.
Oh, I thought it was a little later than that, but we'll see. Saw the movie when I was a kid on like HBO, like early days of HBO. They were showing like that, and Bugsy Malone with Scott Baio all the time. No Comment on the Divide, second to last film, 81, 3 years after Animal House.
Well, Blues Brothers was 80, right? So
Blues Brothers was 80, yes.
What was the last film?
Last one was Neighbors, which I never actually saw. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd together. That's one of those box covers that just brings back a sense memory of like seeing that all the time growing up. But I never saw Neighbors. Continental Divide, though, yes, I have seen multiple times.
All you can smell is somebody vacuuming in the Blockbuster with the stale popcorn in the corner.
And I'm just looking to the saloon doors, going, "What's in that closet over there?" That all these adult men keep disappearing into that room.
What's behind the curtain? It must be
what's
Oz.
Behind the curtain. Oh, Weston Bragg, $4.99. Do you agree that Big E winning could have set up a feud in the future when they're on the same brand or paths cross again?
I could have. I mean, but that was never going to. I think they spoiled this match midway through the show when you saw that segment with Vince and Roman in terms of the direction they might be going with Roman Reigns.
The one thing I'll say that my bet was on Roman win this.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing I will say when it is champion versus champion, but there's no title in the line, like Roman has this incredible, lengthy title run going on right now. there would have been something to like, hey, here's one time where we can have Roman lose. He still gets to keep the title, and everybody understands why. But you're going to help even more your other world champion, who Big E's having a great rise, but this would be that much more. So, like, that's one thing I would consider. If The Rock's not coming back at the end of the show to stare down Roman, or if Brock's not coming back to F5 Roman, or if none of that's happening, which we found out that was not, I could see a case for Big E getting a win here after a long, hard fought 20, 25-minute match of, again, Roman still has his title, but man, you just really helped Big E, who could certainly, he could use the win over Roman a lot more than Roman could use a win over him.
I mean, this isn't over. At that day one pay-per-view, it's probably going to be the main event, where like New Day versus the Usos and Roman. New Day.
We might get that tomorrow, to be honest, because there's going to be Raw and SmackDown. It's going to be one of those hot shot specials. We're getting Vince on the show, might get The Rock on the show, and they've done terrible ratings over the past few weeks. They've been out that 1.5 million viewer range, and Vince has had enough. So I mean,
wait, they're taping SmackDown tomorrow too?
What's that?
Are they taping SmackDown tomorrow as well?
I don't know. I don't know if that's taped. Is that not live? Oh, it might.
No,
if they're taping.
No, I think Brooklyn just gets Survivor Series and Raw. I don't know. I think they're somewhere different for SmackDown. I think SmackDown is live. It's after Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's
live. Derek Islas, $5. Pizza Hut more over than the 25-man battle royal. I do have to admit the design of that box with the 3 layers was kind of cool.
Yeah, and stuffed crust pizzas does slap. I'm a big fan. On a cheat day. It's too much
cheese, man. It's too much cheese.
Eat the crust first.
Have you ever really eaten at the crust first?
Yes, absolutely. Really? That's the whole draw of the pizza. You're trying
to tell a Packers fan too much cheese.
Yeah, I know my cheese. If there's one thing I know.
Here's my move when I get like disgusted with myself through eating a pizza. Usually comes about halfway through. For the last like 2 or 3 slices, I'm just tearing the crust off the ends and just eating like the rind of the crust, and that's it. And I throw the rest away.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah. Go if it's a good crust. If it's like New York style, like it's got the spotting on the bottom, like a little burn. If it's good crust, like always finish the crust ends. Mike, $2. Alfred, what's your prediction for Lashley at Mania?
I mean, based on what we saw tonight, I could see, Lashley McIntyre. I know they already wrestled last year, but I could see Lashley McIntyre being 2 guys who WWE looks at come WrestleMania like, oh, what do we do with these guys? Maybe we just put them together. That wouldn't be the most exciting thing because they already wrestled last year, but there seems to be juice in that now that they've taken so much time apart. Maybe they put him with Omos if they really want to get Omos over and do something short with them. But that'll be interesting to see what they do with Lashley, because I'm still looking forward to a Brock Lesnar-Lashley match. I know Lashley is still holding out hope for that because he continues to bring that up in interviews, but that's not going to be at WrestleMania. I see that being Brock and Roman at WrestleMania. But if The Rock comes back, then I could see Brock and Lashley at Mania.
Yeah. Could happen. Brian Cyrus, $2, saying that Brock has the record for the most eliminations in 2020.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was the greatest Royal Rumble ever in 2020. Yes, Brock does have the most eliminations.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's right.
After this, we had RK Bro versus the Usos, and RK Bro won.
As they should, and obviously I'm glad they acknowledged it. Orton acknowledged it on Twitter. I'm glad that the commentary acknowledged it, and obviously most of the fans seem to be there at the building, in tune with the fact he was breaking a record of most pay-per-views, appearance. I think tomorrow on Raw, if he has a match, he breaks a record there. I mean, he's just,
oh wow,
it's fitting, I mean, really, Randy Orton is a guy who is obviously a surefire Hall of Famer. He's a guy too that he'll have a great documentary one day made about him. This guy could have been, and Alfred will probably be able to pull some first round, some football references that I'm trying to remember the names. This guy could have been one of these first round kind of quarterbacks who just fizzed out, who either couldn't mature or he just couldn't handle whatever. I mean, because Randy Orton certainly had his problems, his personal problems of just dealing with maturity and dealing with the spot that he was put in, and dealing with the fact that he was so gifted and won championships, won so many things so early in his career. And this guy could have fizzled out and been a huge bust. He really could have. He could have been his own worst enemy. But he got himself together somewhere along the way, and he's talked about it. He owns up to it. And if you watch the Austin Broken Skull that he's done, he's very self-aware that he had to shape up his act personally and to still keep doing what he loves doing, what he's really good at doing. And he is at 40, whatever he is now. He is the prototype, stereotypical creator wrestler. He's everything. He's durable. He's been around. He looks in phenomenal shape. this was just a good feel-good moment to see him winning so fittingly with a RKO out of nowhere the way it did happen.
Now, if there was a reference to a quarterback, I think you'll appreciate that as a fan of the Washington football team. It might be Alex Smith. I mean, I know Randy Orton in the pantheon of wrestling is going to go to the Hall of Fame, whatnot, bigger than Alex Smith, but Alex Smith is a guy who seemed like he was going to fizzle out early on his career with the Niners. And then once he stabilized, he got the coordinators, he got put with Andy Reid. Every year he's putting up 4,000 yards, and he was a very serviceable quarterback, and I think you could put him in like the Hall of very good. Although, you know,
Alfred, I was thinking of more of busts of like Dwayne Haskins
or Ryan Leaf,
or Robert Griffin III. Let's trade St. Louis to get the number 2 pick, and here's both again quarterbacks are supposed to be the new franchise who then end up getting cut within a matter of a couple years and maturity and whatever. Who's the other one I'm thinking of? Drew
Lock.
What was the other first rounder who just completely not for Washington? That'll come back to me. That's what I think though. Orton could have been one of those stories, but he's turned out to be, again, Hall of Fame career.
While you guys were watching your sports ball today, I watched an 1-40 documentary that Defunct Land on YouTube did, all about Disney's Fast Pass system at the theme parks.
Really? Are they exposing it? Is it an expose of?
Yeah, it's freaking nuts. It's like the most geeky, obsessed. It talks about Fast Pass, the origins, Fast Pass Plus, like all the stuff now with like Lightning Lane. And when the dude starts doing simulations, like it's crazy. But I'm sorry.
No, Ryan Leaf was the name I was trying to.
Yeah, right. I mentioned Ryan Leaf. Jamarcus Russell is another first round bust who, with the Raiders could have. But I was just comparing the careers in terms of somebody who struggled early and then came along. But yeah, those busts were definitely somebody who Randy Orton could have been. But thankfully,
5 years ago on this podcast, when Randy Orton came back, his last big return, I was excited for it. And everyone else was like, oh no, why? This is the same thing. And we accused him probably for years of just sort of phoning it in, collecting a check. And he's had a bit of a Randy-sance in recent years. I feel like, seriously, since his run with Bray, like, I feel like he's just gotten better and better and better.
He's been really good with Riddle. I feel like Randy Orton, he's nobody's ever going to question his talent. But the thing with Randy Orton, I think he needs to be put in the right situation in terms of having the right ingredients and things surrounding him. And then you'll get the best version of Randy Orton.
He needs someone to play off of.
Yes.
We saw the Zia Lee vignette again tonight.
I really like these. I like the comic book styles. They're really taking their time with these. These are really cool. The Protector.
The Protector.
Yes. We had our theories on Friday, Issa and I, of who's gonna end up being the daughter of the landlord that they're gonna put into a feud with her.
Oh, wow. What did you guys come up with?
It was all over the game. I said Carmella because I was just like, because that seems like pretty good fit. Carmella would be like, my family owns property overseas. Solid storytelling. But no, good effort on this. I hope she actually debuts and doesn't get cut before we actually see her on TV. Because the way things are going after this Hit Row thing, I think no one's safe.
Yeah.
Still pissed off about that. Like, I seriously, in protest, did not want to watch Friday or tonight. Tonight, Becky versus Charlotte is what got me to tune in.
Part of the reason I was off the show is in protest, but I really did have some schedule changes. But I do question whether or not I would have participated in that so freshly off of Hit Row being released.
It's immense amount of bullshit that they got dropped.
Yeah. Very, very sad.
Very, very sad.
That's where the real brand supremacy and stakes come tonight. If you're a talent, if you're a talent that got booked to be one of the final 2 or 3 and your brand match, you're like, all right, well, I mean, I got to think this is a little bit better in case I'm not going to get cut in 3 weeks.
Hit Row had a storyline. Like, what were Jinder and Isai Shanky going to do Friday? We'll never know.
Yeah, we might have gotten another hot diss track that I'm sure you would have loved, Glenn, but it looks like the world will never get to hear it.
It was really the worst thing. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it's the worst thing that I've seen, at least in the 2020s thus far.
One day we're gonna get some really good tell-alls or shoots from those who are still currently inside the WWE walls of this time period.
Oh yeah.
And we don't know yet what this time period is going to be named. We don't know if it's going to be named the transition of the sale. We don't know if it's going to be named Nick Khan, the bad cop. Oh. We don't know we don't know yet what this phase is going to be ultimately identified with in history, but it's going to be identified as something. And
the budget cuts era.
I was going to say the future endeavor era.
And there's going to be some great, well, not great, but there's going to be some very interesting and tantalizing interviews.
Wasn't it weird that like Triple H was trying to make the reality era happen for a long time, and then like that just sort of went nowhere?
I think that was CM Punk who coined that phrase, and I think that is what they call that kind of era for a few years, where it was like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, where a lot of the indie guys got the shine. I think that's referred to as the reality era.
It was, because at the time when I had Chair Shot Reality, Wrestling Reality, and I used the hashtag reality check, believe me, I called my lawyer and asked, do I have any grounds to stand on? He said, you don't have enough money. So I moved on.
I don't know. You took a photo with Triple H. I think that legally like assigns all your intellectual property rights to WWE.
Yeah, right.
We had the women's 5-on-5 match tonight. Team Raw, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Carmella, Queen Zelina Vega, Rhea Ripley versus Team SmackDown, Sasha Banks, Shotzi, Natalya, Shayna Baszler, Toni Storm. Like, Shotzi without the Blackheart, man. This is like Rebecca Romaine without the Stamos at the end. I just can't get used to saying it.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I always have to stop myself from saying Blackheart because I think that's such a great name. I don't know why they had to cut it, but that's what they do with these names.
I like all 10 of these women, so I feel terrible saying this, but I'll be honest, like based upon A, where we were time wise in the night, and then B, how the match actually came off. I wish they would have just cut this match. I know you can't because it's Survivor Series is one of the 2 traditional Survivor Series matches. So I know it's a terrible look if you do, but it did not go well. It was really long. I don't think, Bianca gets to good for Bianca, and I'm a huge Bianca fan, but I just overall, I was just like, I had my notes here. I was like, a lot of my notes were just like, we should just pass this. Like this just wasn't a good spot for anybody.
It was a disaster, and it came off watching this because people were doing the wave. I liked that Bianca, they just immediately tagged in Bianca and Sasha, and that calmed them down immediately. But then the second Bianca tagged out, then they started chanting for CM Punk. Like they told a good story. If you were actually paying attention to the story, which it's hard to do for these fans in terms of them kind of screwing around, they were telling the story of Bianca Belair 1-on-4. She came back and won. So that could have been this big moment, but it was at a point in the show where the crowd was a little tired. They did not give these people a reason to care about this match, and it went on and on and on, and it was just they were begging for this crowd to turn on the match, and that's exactly what happened.
Which sucks because these fans, like when Toni Storm's music hit, like these fans were excited to see some of these women who are getting some of the bigger spots that they've had in their career. They were excited for them, but once the bell rang, they lost. You're a lot of the fans. You're right. The wave, the CM Punk chance. I'm surprised the beach balls didn't come out. I mean, it was
it's weird. It's very weird. The way even the spot this was given, I thought kind of set it up for failure a little bit.
For this era, what about Ruthless Depression?
Go and tweet that right now. Like, get claim for that. File it with the trademark office. The Ruthless Depression era.
I'm trademarking it right after the show.
Oh my God, that's good. Tweet that so I can retweet that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's solid. I think that's a good name. I think, man, tonight. So Zelina has got that parade wave down pat, though. I have to say, credit to her for that.
Oh, look! I don't think she does it as well as Justin just did. That was incredible. Look at the form.
We've learned that Justin is a gifted mimic on this podcast before.
Keep it tight. Yeah.
Excellent.
So this came down to Bianca winning, but we got like Bianca and Shotzi as the last 2 on this, which was good. I thought Natalya had some good spots in this. It was cool to see Bianca and Natalya. Like there was potential in this, but it's just interesting, and they had the team turning on Sasha and her leaving, getting counted out. Like, I don't know. They put effort into this. They put more effort into this than probably like this storyline was probably the 3rd or 4th most effort they put into any of this. Just bad placement after that tag match. I felt like the crowd was already lagging. Man, so we have to talk about what they did, because what they did next, by the way, this is where I just want to give a big middle finger to Vince McMahon and the WWE, because we had to look back at the last time The Rock was on SmackDown 2 years ago. His segment with Baron Corbin and Becky Lynch, and then we had Paul Heyman backstage. And it was like Brock's no longer suspended. So they're giving us like 2 things. Like, hey, remember the last time The Rock was here? Hey, Brock's no longer suspended. Holy shit, the main event's about to happen. This is gonna be an epic conclusion. We might get Brock and The Rock. Like, this could be nuts going into it. I mean, this was just like hook, line, and sinker, man. They really, really built this up. Like, stay tuned, folks. This is going to get good. This is going to be worth all of it. You know?
Yeah. I
Kind
mean,
of a carny
God.
trick.
Yeah, I mean, God, think of the fantasy booking of Roman just fights for 20, 25 minutes, just finally overcomes Big E. Paul puts the lay on him. He's the tribal chief. He's the head of the table, and then all of a sudden, you hear that emergency siren. Brock comes out. Brock just comes out. F5's Roman. F5's Heyman. He leaves. Roman's laying there for dead. Then you hear the Rock's music hit. I mean, yeah. Again, we all can fantasy book in our minds. And again, I guess there is still tomorrow. There is still Monday night. But yeah, I can't disagree with you, Glenn. They really did build it up to like, we got something here. We got a title we got a champion versus champion. We're no title's going to change hands. So we have to end with something. And womp. And look, the show was so damn long. The Rock could have been in Hollywood when the show started, and his jet would have got on Brooklyn in time for the finish of this.
It's very odd, man. Like, I don't know. And this is the thing. It's like we joked about this with CM Punk and AEW. I mean, remember, we're like, what's going to happen if CM Punk doesn't show up in Chicago? Like, would that be like Guns N' Roses in Montreal? Like, what's going to happen if they don't fulfill in this? Because they leaned into it so much, convincing you that's what was going to happen. And tonight, I'm sorry, like, without saying it, they were aligning the pieces to connect the dots.
I think they were, but I was kind of looking at it with all these teases because the elephant in the room with Roman Reigns and The Rock is a WrestleMania match. So yes. I was looking at it like, oh, maybe they have The Rock for WrestleMania. I know they had the 25th anniversary of The Rock, and this was kind of The Rock's type of night. So they were doing a lot of that stuff. But I mean, the way I saw it was looking forward to WrestleMania. But you're right. They did kind of leave the door open for the possibility that The Rock could show up, or even Brock, definitely.
And the other thing with The Rock and Roman, Rock and Roman fit so well coming up with this Mania in the sense of Roman is healthy. He's on top. He's got the bloodline stuff. He's got the Usos. So the whole family thing plays in now. But this year's in Dallas. It's the following year when they're in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Inglewood.
In Inglewood. It's SoFi. That's where you want The Rock at, right? So it's like, can Roman and the Usos of the bloodline, can this thing still be that strong a year and can it still be that strong 15 months from now?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone with the exception of Issa thinks that it can be that strong 15 months from now.
Yeah.
And even she might doubt that a little bit.
But that's the thing, The Rock and Roman needs to happen, but it needs to happen probably not until 23.
And here's the thing. Now you've got the situation where Roman Reigns is in like an albatross, and it's like, okay, so maybe we'll do it in another 15 months. So then we got to keep Roman Reigns, quote unquote, strong. So then we're going to go through another year of Roman Reigns never losing. And he has to be, this undefeated champion going into a match with The Rock. I don't know if that's the best thing for your storytelling. People will get sick of that quickly.
And there would have been a really, really good segment they could have had, because Roman seemed pretty disinterested when Vince was trying to tell him the story. Roman could have just grabbed the mic at the end and like cut a promo on The Rock and just like, I don't understand why we're recognizing 25 years of someone that's not even can't even bother to show up anymore. You know what I mean? Like, He could have done a really, really good job. And Roman's been cutting with Paul Heyman just some on fire promos. So with him and Big E tonight, like, this was a good match, but it also overshadowed that match because they've built up this story of the New Day versus the Bloodline. Like, they've been building this very well. And it's like the expectation overshadowed. It's like them stepping on their own pop. John Cena's bald spot, $10, saying, I think tonight was only a start to a slow burn for The Rock's return. They continue to hint over the weeks, maybe returns at the Rumble, maybe Roman throws shots over the next few weeks. He's head of the table now. I feel like they've been slow building this. Or maybe the fans have just been fantasy booking this. I feel like we've been talking about The Rock versus Roman for at least a year and a half now.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that's lingering out there, like Brock and Roman still having the match. They still have to have the match. Like, and there's still so that's the other thing. It's like there's that unfinished business too. You know.
So. Yeah, I don't know. It's all very odd. And I liked what we saw tonight with Big E and Roman. I thought this was a good match.
Yeah,
You know, I thought there were times where Big E could have won, and that's where I thought Brock interferes, Big E gets the win, they beat the crap out of Big E after Rock shows up. Something I don't know.
I love Big E, but I love Big E. He's one of my favorites. I audibly gasp and scream every time he goes and does the spot, the spear in between the middle ropes with the opponent on the apron. Tonight, even so, it looked like his feet kind of got caught, and he almost he
landed
himself
right on his shoulder, and even he had to he got up and he immediately started pounding the mat to kind of signal at everybody, no, I'm okay. But it's that kind of tells you everything you need to know about that spot. If you have to tell everybody somehow that you're all right, he's just flirting with disaster doing that spot, because there are a lot of horrible injuries happen by freak accidents of routine suplex. You know what I mean? A wrist lock, you can get injured, and that is just begging for an injury.
I gasp every time he does it. I stop doing it, Biggie. You don't need to do that.
Weston Bragbuck 99 saying, got to focus on the main roster, not The Rock. I mean, based on tonight, do you really feel they were focusing on the main roster? They think 8 people on the main roster are superstars. Yeah, everyone else is interchangeable.
Here's again fantasy booking. Okay, so if they do pull the trigger with all these speculations, if they do pull the trigger and do Rock versus Roman this year meaning this April, and if they want to get The Rock back again the next year when they're in California, unless it's Rock and Roman this year 1-on-1, some kind of a playoff or respect, family, whatever. And then the following year, if it's something where they're on the same side, where it's them as the same side of family, and I don't know who you put as their opposition that would be of marquee value, but that's
Rikishi.
No, but them versus I don't know, and I'm trying to think of who you'd even. But I mean, unless they have Rock for the next 2 Manias. But again, I just keep saying 2023 in California, that's where it makes the most sense really to have him. But we all really want it now. It feels like it's been forever, and again, they kind of trolled us tonight. So,
and I agree with you, Justin, in terms of geographically, California makes the most sense. But in terms of the scale of show, in terms of a show that's going to have 100,000 people there, that's, I think, a show that The Rock would want to headline in order to set the attendance record or whatnot.
I think this show in Dallas again. I think find a way to get Austin involved. If Undertaker's going in the Hall of Fame, have Undertaker's speech be at Mania. It's 2 nights of Mania. If you put them on one, that sell Dallas that way. I mean, I was at the last Dallas one, and it's huge, but that's how I would sell that one. Is go with those.
Big E was wearing Seinfeld inspired gear tonight.
Oh, is that right? I missed that.
Yeah, he had Spongeworthy, Serenity Now, Giddy Up. He had...
I did. Okay, yeah. Him and Wale must talk a lot about Seinfeld then, because they're good friends. And Wale made a whole album called The Album About Nothing, featuring Jerry Seinfeld. Very good album.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld did comedy on the album, and Wale was rapping. It was a great album. I loved it.
Glenn, I am shocked that you didn't know this, because you usually keep up with all this.
Well, I'm a little out of the loop on current hip hop. I was watching over the weekend a documentary Bobcat Goldthwait and Dana Gould did of them on tour called Joyride, and I didn't know Bobcat Goldthwait has heat with Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld and Comedians in Cars goes out of his way to trash Bobcat Goldthwait. I was just holy shit, I did not know about this. But so with Biggie tonight, that was cool. But man, I know Seinfeld's so popular, but that maybe with WWE's older demographic, maybe it's lockstep with that.
I can't get Bobcat and Police Academy out of my head now.
Dude, Bobcat Goldthwait was so over in the 1980s.
Yeah. And then he was on that show Happily Ever After that was kind of like a knockoff of Married with Children, but still a very funny show. And he played that alien.
Right. Oh yes, or I thought he was a bunny, or what was he in the basement?
Yeah, it was like a bunny. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because it was Ray Charles Hit the Road Jack was the theme song. Wasn't
it?
Oh my god, I want to go YouTube that now. That's fun.
Nikki Cox would come out and the men would go crazy.
Didn't he end up dating Nikki Cox?
They
were engaged. Wow.
I wish I could do a Bobcat impression right now. I'm trying to think
Try one.
I can't. Oh my god, it'll be so bad.
His stand up now is so funny. because he'll do the voice a little bit, but he just tells stories, and the stories are just like insane, like opening for Nirvana and like Robin Williams stories and just like all this random shit that's happened to him. But he's like a director now. He directs a ton.
Yeah, he's a very talented man, a good director. He's a very funny comedian. The Bobcat Goldthwait thing was like a character he played, but his actual stand-up as a human, I think, is better. And another connection, Glenn, he appeared on the Larry Sanders Show. One of my favorite episodes when he went nuts on the Jay Leno set, and then they brought him in to do the same thing later.
Oh, I was going to say my favorite episode is actually the first one he did, Life After Larry, where he was going to host after, and he talks about like hitting Morgan Fairchild with like the Nerf bat while she's talking. And he goes, Wednesday, I'm never going to be here. It's going to be a disembodied voice like a Beckett play. And he's just doing this disastrous pitch for the network. It's awesome.
Who does a better voice, when Bobcat can do that voice or Gilbert Gottfried's natural voice? Which voice is funnier?
Oh my God. Gilbert Gottfried's natural voice is creepy.
I think definitely Gilbert. He's got an all-time in terms of when you hear the voice, you know who it is. I just saw a Gilbert Gottfried documentary about a week ago. It was really good.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. You know, and I have to admit, I kind of aped that when I was talking about all the things I would rather do than watch Monday Night Raw. His thing about Catherine Zeta-Jones, like, it's very X-rated.
Yeah. That's how they open the documentary.
Oh my, like that is one of the funniest goddamn stand-up routines I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like is so good. If you haven't seen it, it's very NSFW, but definitely.
I don't know if we can repeat that bit on this podcast.
No. But I think I was basically doing that with my list of everything I would rather do than watch Raw. George Devine, $5. Tomorrow, when looking for stupid egg, Roman is disinterested. Said egg isn't important. Rock doesn't matter anymore. No pun intended. He's head of the table now. Is Roman going to be on Raw tomorrow night? Yeah,
the whole Raw and SmackDown rosters are going to be there tomorrow.
The fallout from Survivor Series.
Well, plus Vince has ordered Adam Pearce to interview and interrogate every single superstar.
Yeah. Did they play this for comedy, or are we going to get? Because I mean, I like it.
This for comedy.
The Rock's going to come back, or like,
it's going to be serious.
It was
implications.
It was Hornswoggle.
I mean, for the payoff, like, yeah, it's going to be a funny, like, silly haha thing that they do. But for the payoff, like, I mean, I like the idea that The Rock is the one who has the egg somehow. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off for Monday Night Raw, or do they just do it like Reggie had it the whole time, or some 24/7 guy?
Money on the 24/7. This really buries that security guard that was standing outside of Vince's office. That just like,
well, I mean, the guy just
Roman's scared off with his eyes. Yeah.
It's gonna be serious. Matt Riddle's gonna get accused, and he's gonna accuse him of profiling him because he likes marijuana, but that doesn't make him a criminal. You know,
Riddle sold it and bought $100 million worth of cannabis.
That would actually be epic if it's just like.
Bro, Randy, I found this egg. I didn't know what it was, but then I took it to my guy. I took it to Jerome, and Jerome said, dude, I can get something for this. And then if I traded it and my scooter, I got a store I want to take you to. Like, I don't know. It'll just turn into some crazy.
No, Riddle shows up with like a diamond-encrusted scooter, like just blinged out. And he's just talking about his luck. They found this egg, and he just spends all this money.
And Randy, like the disapproving uncle, where did you get the money for that scooter?
Don't worry, bro. I got you one too.
This is what it needs to be tomorrow night. I think this is better than what we're actually going to see on Raw. And then it'll all be a misunderstanding because maybe it turns out that he actually had money from another source and he didn't find the egg. We get the swerve, you know. But they want you to think he got it the entire time.
I'm just waiting for Raj to appear in a minute and just cut the whole podcast off. He's in a hotel in New York right now looking at this, and he's just sweating Merlot. He's just so pissed. Get to the super chats. Stop the fantasy booking.
Oh, man. So I mean, what can we say about Big E versus Roman? I mean, this was a very competitive match. Big E looked very strong in defeat. I didn't think he was winning, but it looked like there were a couple times he could have.
Yeah, I like this match a lot, but you know, I didn't. Yeah, I definitely thought that Roman Reigns was going to go over, and I think that did hurt the match. But I thought Big E looked like a badass, you know, kind of taking those Superman punches and standing right up. But this whole pay-per-view felt so useless, and it's the fault of WWE and how they treated it, because Survivor Series is one of these brand names that I really think they've bastardized over the past 5 to 10 years, and there's no reason for it. You could, if you're not a fan of these elimination matches, okay, you have one or whatnot, or eliminate them all together if you want. But this pay-per-view, especially because they booked it in Brooklyn and they have all the pageantry, it had everything except the actual booking, I think, in terms of making it seem important.
Samantha in the chat says it's going to be Ryan Reynolds who took the egg, and happy birthday, Justin.
Oh, there you go. Not Gal Gadot.
Are we sick of Ryan Reynolds yet? I was rewatching Blade Trinity the other night and just really realizing he's just doing the same thing in every film at this point. Really phoning it in.
I do like Deadpool Ryan Reynolds.
But that's the same Ryan Reynolds you get in every single film. Ryan Reynolds, Van Wilder, same thing. I mean, Blade Trinity, same thing. I mean, I heard on Red Notice, it's he's basically doing the same thing. He's got one speed at this point.
What about Buried? When he was buried in a coffin. That was a different Ryan Reynolds.
That one actually looks kind of interesting. I like those single location, low budget indie movies. So it could be good. Forget what that was called, but it could be good. Justin, tell everyone how old you turned this year.
As of 66 minutes ago, I'm 34 years old.
Hey, look at Justin.
And can we also give a shout to Corey Graves for the line of the night of Vince, how dare you have I'm paraphrasing. How dare you have another egg at Survivor Series? This can only go. He says something to the effect of it can only go so wrong. Of course, referencing the great egg from 1990 where the gobbledygooker comes out. But it was just a class. I mean, just a hell of a line.
Brian Cyrus, $5. Plot twist: the egg wasn't stolen. It'll come out tomorrow that it was released due to budget cuts, and it'll never be mentioned again.
Here it is. I feel this is from the Wrestling Inc. account that tweeted this. I feel terrible for Mr. McMahon. How many times can you bring a giant egg to Survivor Series and have it end badly? That's
you know what? I figured it out. It's got to be Hector Guerrero has the egg. Hector Guerrero has the egg.
Gobbledygooker. I love Taker's story too. Of Undertaker going, "Oh my God, I'm popping out of the egg. I'm gonna be the Eggman," because he was at the debut at the same time.
The Eggman.
Pat McAfee kept. I want Pat McAfee to do play-by-play on my next colonoscopy because he can make anything exciting.
That's Pat McAfee was great. What I noticed on this show is that they would have Pat McAfee and Corey Graves together, and on paper it sounds like that'd be a lot of fun, but I feel like they mesh like oil and water, because they're both kind of the same type of loud, kind of exuberant types, and they would kind of go back and forth and snipe at each other, and I didn't feel like they worked well together.
Well, they're both from Pittsburgh here, so they know each other really well. They are the same kind of guy. You're right. It's kind of like they're both trying to neither's going to set the other one up. They're both trying to hit the other one with the slam dunk line. It is, but that said, out of all the combinations, and I usually hate 3-man booths, as I sit here on a 3-man booth. I gotta say Cole with McAfee and Graves is at least the most entertaining, because it's
definitely
Cole is the best at doing the demanding job that is to host a WWE show like that. Graves is always spot on, and McAfee is such a wild card. I cannot believe Vince is not just stripped him of all of his personality. The fact that Pat just gets up and starts standing in the middle of the matches and it's still allowed is it's awesome. I love it. So Pat's a great, both of them, Pat and Corey Graves. Yeah.
So ultimately, Big E lost this match, and Roman Reigns won. Big E looked frustrated after this. And we all sat and waited, saying, well, what's going to happen now? They wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and they went off the air.
I was hoping they were going to pull a Triple H NXT. The all rights reserved thing
comes
up.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
They didn't do it.
Could not believe it. And I feel like it's very rare that I think WWE is actually going to pay something off. But tonight, yes, hook, line, and sinker. I really thought tonight we were getting this based on the hints.
Tune in tomorrow.
That's what you get for hoping.
But don't you think, the Ruthless Depression era? It's what we're living in.
We're off and running.
Alfred, you better call the patent office. You better get that trademark.
I'll do everything I can to get that trademark.
So good. Like that should. I'd buy a T-shirt that said that. That is appeal to non-wrestling fans also.
Call Pro Wrestling Tees. You can have one out by Thanksgiving on Chicago.
Yeah, for
Pro
sure.
Wrestling Tees.
Ruthless Depression. So good. I feel like that's the mood. I was telling Issa like the other night after the Hit Row thing, Friday Night SmackDown. Friday I didn't change out of sweatpants all day. I used Uber Eats to get Olive Garden delivered, and I sat there watching SmackDown, just feeling bummed out.
Yeah,
captures the mood, man.
I ate cookie dough while I was watching SmackDown, so I'm right there with you.
The breadsticks to go, not as good.
I would imagine.
Good. Yeah, but
you have to go to Olive Garden. They treat you like your family.
Issa's meltdown when I told her that we went to the Olive Garden in Times Square in New York one night after a show because we were like, we don't want to get an Uber to go to Brooklyn or Greenpoint. Like, we're just going to go to the Olive Garden and go back to a hotel. Like, yeah, but it was lovely. It was a lovely meal.
Yeah, when you're in New York, look, you go find a good taco truck at 2 a.m. or something. That's what you do when you're in New York. You don't go to Olive Garden.
You know,
great halal in New York too. Those rice carts that they have. Oh my god.
Now, okay, so I don't think there's anything vegan at those carts, but I'm a big like falafel guy. But that's the thing. It's like I don't want to be like, hey, it's vegan, but I think all the time. I'm always like, I can eat falafel once a day and not be bored with it. Love falafel. So good. So we've come to this point. Here we are. It's 1:11 on the East Coast. 10:11. I'm not going to watch Succession tonight. I'm going to get done with this. Wife's going to be like, let's go to bed. Tomorrow night instead of Raw, I'll be watching Succession on HBO.
Wife's going to say, are you manscaping? You're going to go, yes. She's going to say, Papa Blue Chew, you're going to go.
Oh, there you go. Speaking of Succession, Kieran Culkin was there tonight in attendance.
At the pay-per-view?
Yeah, they showed him on camera. And there was a photo backstage of him with Becky.
Oh, wow. I missed that.
And like they even the social media like tweeted out like the man versus Waystar Royco. It was like, whoa, they know their shit. Justin, you watching Succession?
I'm not, but I've been tempted. I've seen the preview. I've seen the trailers, and I know that he's in it. I'm tempted. Wife and I we're very much behind. We're very pumped that Ozark's coming back in January.
Yes.
We want to get on the Mayor of Kingstown.
I've heard that also is
we've
good.
started DVRing, and so we have that to get to. So there's that. So yeah, the Succession as well.
I think you'll love it, Justin.
Succession. Yeah. Watch it and think you're watching a show about the McMahon family.
Yes, because that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
A
lot of parallels.
You
could even take each member and like, okay, this person's Vince, this person's Stephanie, or whatnot. Shane, Triple H. There's like all the principles in terms of executives in WWE are kind of represented on that show.
Love it.
It all makes sense. Alfred, have you seen the version of the Succession theme that Demiaju Ibe did where he added lyrics to the Succession theme?
Oh, I did see that. That was awesome.
Yes.
That's one of the hardest. I still sit through the whole thing. I never skip the intro for Succession. I watched the whole thing.
Yes. Alan Jones, $5, our last super chat of the evening, saying all this talk about the stupid egg, and we still never found out who threw the pie in Kevin Owens' face. Maybe Kevin took the egg.
Well, it's true. Okay. He did run out of his match, so he had time to go do that. He ran out.
Before we leave tonight, who do you think has the egg? Let's start with you, Glenn. Who has the egg?
I do like this Matt Riddle idea. I think this is a golden storyline.
I'm gonna go with one of the Usos.
Okay.
I'm going with The Rock. I'm just gonna swing for the fences and say The Rock.
There you go. Secular Belt also saying Alfred also trademark ruthless oppression.
He should trademark that. I'm more likely to trademark that one than the other one.
Get both. It's like only $300 a pop. Go for
That's
it.
the AEW era we're in right now. Come on, I get AEW.
Oh, you're gonna get trolled by the AEW fans on Twitter.
Shout out to Tony Khan and AEW.
So good. People used to think I was harsh on the company.
This is the part of the podcast where I like to ask, and people always answer it. Please call to action. Tell me how you are watching or listening to this podcast. Are you up live with us? Are you at work? Are you on the subway? Are you on the bus? Are you in the classroom? Are you getting the kids on the bus? What are you doing? How are you consuming this podcast? I want to know. Tag me, tag all these guys, at Gluten Rubenstein.
Oh, there you go.
This is nasty. I do this every episode now, Glenn. It's become, but I love the responses I get, because I get some that are people from all over the world. I love the responses of what they're doing. So it's my call to action. It's my go home.
It's really awesome to see that. You see like people listen on planes and stuff like that, all kinds of different places.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. Brian Cyrus, $5, taking us out with Owen should take the egg and throw it in the trash when he debuts in AEW. So I forgot who tweeted this, and I apologize, but whoever says, like, I don't mean to steal your joke without credit. They said being the elite needs to film an egg vignette like ASAP to get out tomorrow. Kiera Kemp, $5 saying we never got the Zayn doc. I mean, one day. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Okay, everyone.
I have a feeling we're going to see a slide in a couple months. A graphic that's going to say El Generico is all elite.
Hey, speaking of slides, if Drew Gulak, who I forgot was still signed until tonight, if he just put together a PowerPoint deck, I think he could make it so we didn't have to release any more wrestlers. He could rebalance that budget quickly for WWE. Okay, there we go. So he's at Justin LaBar. He's at This Is Nasty. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. Thanks, everyone, for hanging with us tonight. Y'all, who's on tomorrow? I don't know who's on tomorrow.
Not me. I'm taking off.
Yeah, I won't be there either, but it's gonna be. I think Christy Olsen's gonna be there.
I think it's Jack, Christy,
Issa, maybe,
or maybe just Jack and Christy.
I think it's just Jack and Christy.
All right,
there you go.
Alfred, I'll be back Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll be back Tuesday. I'm getting my vaccine booster, Moderna, Tuesday morning. So fingers crossed, I'll be back Tuesday night. If it doesn't knock me out. Okay. Have a great night, everyone. Catch you next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.